In the heat of an argument, emotions flare, tempers rise, and logic often takes a backseat. Most arguments leave you drained, even if you win. But what if there was a way to emerge from debates, not with victory over another, but mastery over yourself? Stoicism offers a different path, a way to confront conflict without being consumed by it. It's not about shouting louder or being right. It's about control, understanding, and inner strength. These 10 lessons will guide you through the Stoic approach to debate, showing you how to navigate arguments with wisdom, composure, and ultimately, true power. So let's start with our first lesson, which is the invisible trigger. You're mid-argument, and suddenly, a simple comment ignites a fire inside you. You feel an immediate, visceral reaction. Anger surges, and before you know it, you're raising your voice, ready to retaliate. But what if you could pinpoint the exact moment before you lose control? The Stoics teach us that external events don't provoke our emotions. It's our judgment of them that does. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In the middle of that fiery exchange, the other person's words aren't inherently powerful. They only hurt because you allow them to. Now, imagine this. The next time someone pushes your buttons, you don't react. Instead, you observe. You catch the trigger, analyze it, and let it pass without acting on it. It's like watching a spark flicker and die without feeding it fuel. By practicing this detachment, you gain a powerful edge. You're no longer a puppet to your emotions, no longer bound by the knee-jerk reactions that drag most people into verbal warfare. The other person may shout, they may provoke, but their words fall flat because you've mastered the invisible trigger. You don't need to win by overpowering them. You've already won by not being ruled by your own emotions. You remain calm, controlled, and unshakable, no matter what is thrown your way. Second, the art of sinking below the surface. In every argument, people tend to fight on the surface, over words, points, and misunderstandings. Yet, below this surface, there's a much deeper battle happening, one driven by ego, fear, and insecurity. It's rarely about the topic being discussed, but about something more primal, control. Imagine being in the middle of a debate. The voices are getting louder, emotions are flaring, and suddenly, you realize you're not really arguing about the issue at hand. There's something deeper, a desire for dominance, validation, or to protect yourself from vulnerability. The Stoic approach is to recognize this and sink below the surface. Don't engage in the superficial tug of war. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The real suffering in arguments isn't from the words exchanged, but from the unspoken emotional battles underneath. When you learn to dive below this surface, you see the argument for what it truly is, an emotional battleground where neither side really wins. By addressing the real issues, you cut through the noise. You stop reacting to every point made against you, and instead focus on understanding what's really driving the conversation. You can disarm the situation by addressing the deeper motivations, either your own or the other person's. This is how you take control, not by shouting louder, but by moving to a level of understanding and insight that your opponent doesn't even realize exists. And once you're operating at this level, the surface argument becomes irrelevant. Third, break the pattern, control the game. Arguments tend to follow a familiar rhythm, a back-and-forth exchange where points are thrown like punches. Most people are trapped in this cycle, repeating the same patterns, expecting a different outcome. But what if you could break the pattern? What if you could disrupt the predictable flow and, in doing so, control the entire exchange? In the middle of a heated debate, you feel the tug to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to retaliate. But instead, you pause. That small pause is your power. You've disrupted the rhythm. The other person is expecting you to play along, but now they're caught off guard. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This pause is your chance to think, to recalibrate. In that brief moment of silence, you gain control over the argument's tempo. The other person might try to fill the space with more words, but you stay grounded, calm, and deliberate. You choose your next move carefully, not out of emotion, but out of strategy. This simple disruption shifts the entire dynamic. No longer is the debate a chaotic, escalating mess. It's now a controlled exchange where you dictate the terms. By breaking the familiar pattern, you've seized control. And in doing so, the need to win fades because you've already won by mastering yourself in the conversation. You're not fighting for dominance, you're controlling the flow. Fourth, the power of the unseen victory. In most arguments, we're taught that victory must be loud and visible, a definitive, undeniable win. But what if the real victory was one that no one else saw, one that didn't require applause or acknowledgement? Stoicism teaches that the greatest triumphs often happen in silence. Imagine an argument where, at the end, the other person walks away convinced they've won. They leave feeling victorious, confident that they've bested you. But instead of feeling defeated, you feel calm. Because while they were focused on winning the argument, you were focused on winning control over yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When someone is trying to provoke you, drag you into their emotional storm, and you resist, you've already won. The external victory, the argument itself, is meaningless compared to the internal victory. By refusing to let their chaos affect your inner peace, you've claimed a deeper, more powerful win. Think about it. The next time someone tries to drag you into a heated argument, let them think they've won. Walk away with a sense of quiet victory. Your silence, your refusal to engage emotionally, will echo longer than any retort you could have made. The other person may not even realize they've lost, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that you stayed true to your principles, unmoved by the storm. The most powerful victories are the ones no one else sees, because they happen within. Fifth, the subtle art of strategic surrender. We've been conditioned to believe that surrender is synonymous with defeat. But what if surrendering wasn't a weakness? What if walking away from an argument was a sign of immense strength? Picture this. You're caught in a debate that's going nowhere. Words are exchanged, but neither side is truly listening. The argument is spiraling out of control, eating up your energy. Now, imagine choosing to step away, not because you're beaten, but because you decide that the argument isn't worth your time or energy. Seneca wrote, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." How much time have you wasted in arguments that changed nothing? By recognizing when an argument serves no purpose, you can reclaim your time and your peace. This is strategic surrender, not a concession, but a choice. When you learn to walk away, you're not losing. You're simply choosing not to engage in battles that lead nowhere. The ego wants to keep fighting, to prove itself right. But the Stoic knows that not every battle is worth fighting. Real strength comes from knowing when to let go. In that moment of walking away, you don't lose the argument. You transcend it. You rise above the need for victory, reclaim your energy, and focus on what truly matters. The ability to choose your battles is a far greater power than the ability to win every argument. Sometimes, true victory lies in the battles you don't fight. Sixth, weaponizing curiosity. Most arguments turn toxic because people stop listening and start defending. But what if you could turn this on its head? What if, instead of defending your position, you used curiosity as your greatest weapon in an argument? Picture this. You're in the middle of a heated debate, and instead of trying to outsmart or overpower the other person, you ask them a simple, genuine question. Why do you feel that way? Not in a condescending manner, but with real curiosity. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This isn't just a strategy to gather information. It's a way to defuse tension. When you show genuine interest in the other person's perspective, you disarm them. They're no longer attacking. They're explaining, and in that explanation, you gain insight, and they lose the defensive posture that fuels the argument. Curiosity shifts the dynamic. It transforms the argument from a battlefield into a place of discovery. When you truly listen, you stop playing the role of the adversary and become an observer. This simple shift in perspective can turn even the most heated debate into a productive conversation. By weaponizing curiosity, you win in a way the other person doesn't expect, by showing that the argument isn't about winning or losing. It's about understanding, and in that understanding, you gain a deeper, more lasting form of victory. Seventh, the invisible knife of ego. Ego is the silent force driving most arguments. You can't see it, but you feel its sharp edge when you're cut by a careless comment or a perceived insult. It's the invisible knife that wounds deeply, pushing you to retaliate, to defend your pride. But what if you learn to dull that blade? Imagine you're in a heated debate and someone strikes at your ego. They belittle you, trying to cut you down. Your instinct is to strike back, to protect your sense of self. But in that moment, the Stoic sees an opportunity, not to defend, but to dissolve the ego entirely. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. It's not the insult that hurts you, it's your ego reacting to it. When you strip the ego away, the words lose their power." Think of it like this. When you refuse to let your ego dictate your reactions, you become untouchable. Their attacks pass through you, leaving no mark because there's nothing for the blade to cut. You remain calm, composed, unshaken. The other person might escalate, trying to provoke you further, but without your ego in the way, there's no fuel for the fire. By mastering your ego, you take control of the argument. You no longer react to slights or insults because they no longer matter. The invisible knife is dulled, and with it, the argument loses its edge. You win not by overpowering your opponent, but by removing the one thing that makes you vulnerable, your ego. Eighth, mastering the chaos within. Most arguments descend into chaos. But what if you could control that chaos and turn it into a weapon? The Stoics understood that chaos itself isn't the enemy. Losing control in chaos is. Picture an argument spiraling into confusion, voices overlapping, points lost in the noise. But instead of getting swept away, you remain grounded. You let the chaos play out around you, unfazed. You wait for the moment where clarity emerges from the mess, and that's when you strike. Marcus Aurelius said, "Order your thoughts." You can control chaos by organizing your mind. The key isn't to avoid the storm, but to stay centered within it. As the other person flails in the chaos, you become the eye of the storm, calm, steady. And when the storm passes, you're the only one still standing. Imagine the next time an argument spirals out of control. Everyone else is losing themselves in the chaos, raising voices, losing track of logic. But you stay quiet, composed. You observe. In this space, you see opportunities they miss. You're not reacting to the chaos, you're mastering it. And when you finally speak, your words have weight, clarity, and impact. This is how the Stoics handled chaos, not by avoiding it, but by thriving in it. In a world of noise, your calm becomes the most powerful tool. By mastering the chaos within, you control the chaos around you. And that's when you truly dominate the debate. Ninth, the hidden victory of silence. In most arguments, silence is seen as a weakness, a concession. But to the Stoics, silence was a weapon. Imagine an argument where every retort, every comeback, feels necessary. But instead, you say nothing. Silence is more powerful than words. It unsettles your opponent, forces them to fill the void with their own insecurities, their own doubts. In that silence, you control the narrative without saying a single word. Seneca knew this power when he said, "Speech belongs half to the speaker, half to the listener." By withholding speech, you take control of both halves. Silence turns the argument into a reflection of the other person's weakness, not yours. Most people fill silence with noise because they're uncomfortable with the space it creates. But the Stoic knows that true power lies in that discomfort. When you remain silent, you give the other person nothing to react against. They lose their footing, their confidence, as the silence stretches. And in that moment, you control the conversation without speaking a word. Next time you find yourself in the middle of a heated argument, consider not what you could say, but what you could leave unsaid. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. Let it expose the other person's weaknesses. Silence is the ultimate Stoic tool because it requires no effort, yet commands immense power. When you master silence, you master the argument without ever needing to raise your voice. 10th, the final battle, walking away. The ultimate lesson of Stoicism in argument? Knowing when to walk away. It's not defeat, it's choosing your battles wisely. Picture yourself at the height of a debate, adrenaline coursing. every instinct telling you to keep fighting. But you pause. You consider, is this worth your energy? Epictetus reminds us, you become what you give your attention to. If the argument isn't serving you, why give it your attention? Walking away isn't surrender, it's strategy. By choosing not to fight, you save your energy for what truly matters. Now, think of an argument you've had where you walked away feeling drained, even if you won. The victory felt hollow because it wasn't really a win. It was just an expenditure of energy. The Stoics knew that true strength lies in knowing when a battle is worth fighting. And often, the greatest victory is in not engaging at all. Walking away takes immense strength because it goes against every instinct to defend yourself, to prove you're right. But the real power lies in your ability to rise above the need for validation. You're not defined by the outcome of the argument. You're defined by your control over your own mind. So, the next time you're locked in a debate, ask yourself, does this serve me? If the answer is no, walk away. You've already won by choosing yourself over the chaos. Winning an argument isn't about overpowering your opponent. It's about mastering your own mind. As you navigate the chaos of debate with clarity, patience, and understanding, you'll find that true victory lies in self-control. Each lesson equips you with the tools to turn conflict into opportunity, transforming how you engage with others. So, as you step into your next debate, remember, the real challenge is within. If you found this insight valuable, hit like and subscribe. Don't miss our other videos that dive deeper into the art of communication and personal mastery. Click to explore more and elevate your skills.